So about a year ago or so, I spoke to Kyle Petty here on the show, and we had a fantastic time talking about everything from the Cars films to Goodwood to his upbringing. And he's joined me again on the show today. I really appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you for making the time for this. And how's life treating you right now? How's things?
Oh, it's great, man. It is great. It's been a good start to the season, the Cup season. Just came off my motorcycle ride. My kids are just getting ready to be out of school for summer break, so we'll be headed to the beach for a week or so. So life is good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait for the summer holidays for the same reason. Get to the beach, get the good weather out. It's yeah, the best of times for sure when the weather's like that.
For sure, for sure. Listen, there's nothing better than nice weather, not too hot, not too cold, just right at the beach. Nothing better.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I will wholeheartedly agree with you. But yeah, we could talk about the beach for a long time, but let's talk about charity rides. Let's talk about NASCAR. That's what the people want to hear. But yeah, let's start with the charity ride because again, you've come back off that the 2025 edition. Obviously had a great time, went to some incredible places, and most importantly of all, raised a lot of money. So yeah, just talk people through that really. And for people who didn't obviously hear about it the first time around when you came on the show, what is it? How does it all work and everything?
So the charity ride we started, this was our 29th year. And we started it honestly just so a few of us just wanted to ride across the United States on motorcycles. That's all we wanted to do, just ride motorcycles. And everybody said no, we couldn't do it. We decided we'd do it for charity. Everybody said greatest idea in the world. So that's what we started doing 29 years ago. We've raised prior to this year, we've raised $22 million for different children's charities and for Victory Junction, a camp that we started in memory of my oldest son, Adam, who was killed racing back in 2000. And that's where all the money goes now. We raised 1.4 million this year. We had a great year. We did a short ride this year, a little bit shorter in distance. We went from upstate Michigan, Traverse City, Michigan, went down to the Henry Ford Museum. So much history there, so much automotive history, locomotive history, airplane history. It's crazy, that place. If you're ever in the States and you have a chance to go to Dearborn, to the Henry Ford, it's an amazing place. Also visit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's what we did next. We went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Then we rode up to Niagara Falls and saw that great wonder up there. It was truly amazing. The sound was first time I'd ever been, but the sound of the water and the power of the water was just fantastic. And you can't have a charity ride without stopping at a cup race or at a racetrack. So we went to Watkins Glen. Formula One has some history there. So we went to Watkins Glen, made a lap around the racetrack, and then we went down through Pennsylvania and back to Virginia and back home. So pretty short ride, but a million four is what we raised. And that's a phenomenal number. We just had a great group of riders. Max Pappas rode with us, Kenny Schrader, Kenny Wallace. My dad rode with us again. So Herschel Walker, who plays American football, a Heisman Trophy winner here. So we had some celebrities and a lot of great people that helped us raise a lot of money so we can send kids to camp.
Absolutely, yeah, fantastic. How much is it now in total that you've raised? Do you know?
So we should be close to, I'm going to tell you something. We should be close 22 something to one fund. We should be a little close to 24 or a little over 24 million right now. Next year is our 30th year. We're excited about next year. It's a huge opportunity for us to do some big stuff. We're already planning, already talking to NASCAR and Coca-Cola and Harley Davidson and Dodge and the people that are our partners trying to plan some big events coming across the country. So next year will be a long ride. I promise you. If I come back next year, we're going to have a whole episode of nothing but the ride because it's going to have to be 9 to 10 days.
Yeah, absolutely. And to put things in perspective as well, roughly how long was the ride this year? Because from a European point of view, a short ride in your mind is probably an extremely long one for us.
No, so a short ride for us, we went about 1,600 miles this year. So that is a short ride. For our 25th, we went almost 4,000 miles. So that's a long ride. So that I consider anything over 3,500 a long ride. Anything below 3,500 is a short ride. So this was a really short ride. I should have put it that way. This was a really short ride for us.
Yeah, I think 1,400 miles. I think I'd almost end up in Africa at that point. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Do go check out all the stuff with that. And yeah, if you can donate anything, so very much appreciated. But yeah, fantastic job to do that as always, getting all the people on side for that. But yeah, you mentioned the 2025 season so far in NASCAR. NASCAR. What's kind of been your takeaways so far? Because it's been very much varied. It seemed very early on as though maybe a certain Christopher Bell was just going to walk away with everything. But we've had three drivers now, as of the last race, who have won three races so far this season. So what's been your takeaways so far in this season in NASCAR?
Yeah, and that's really fascinating because I think for the last few years, all we've talked about and all we've spoken about has been how equal the sport is and how anyone could win at any given time. And then we throw the green flag on the 2025 season, and you've got Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson and Denny Hamlin now, who all have three wins. That's nine races out of the first 14 races, 15 races, whatever it is. So because we're right along in that place, so that's pretty fascinating. The more fascinating thing to me is that with Denny and Christopher Bell, the Gibbs organization has the wins. That's the way I look at it as much as anything else because I think drivers still wins from each other. When it used to be single car teams or two car teams, it was a little bit more spread out all over the board because everybody had an opportunity. But the Gibbs organizations, the Toyotas, have been stronger during the race, not speed wise, but during the race than what a lot of people anticipated. At the same time, I look at William Byron, who has dominated a multitude of races. We go to Darlington, we go to Charlotte, we go to Michigan this past weekend, leading so much of the race, only to come up short with a runner-up finish. So, that's pretty fascinating too. But the Hendrick cars have speed, obviously, because Larson has won. All the Penske cars have won. I will say that. So if we look at that, that's three wins for the Penske organization, but three different drivers, but three wins. So really, as we look at the season, it's the Penskes and the Gibbs and the Hendrick. They are the teams that are dominating. They are the teams that are going to be our champion. Somebody from those teams. But it has been a great year of racing. It has been a great year of racing, no matter what we say. I say great. It's been a good year. Great is overused. It's been a good, solid year of racing. I'm going to say that. There's been a couple of moments that you looked at it and you said, that's spectacular. But there's been a couple of moments you looked at it and turned your head because you were embarrassed. So it has the highs, it has the lows, but it's been a good season.
It definitely has. It definitely has been entertaining for sure. And a unique thing about this season is the fact that we are going to Mexico this weekend as I record this review now. I mean, we're going to the Mexico City circuit, the same circuit that hosts Formula One. First time that we've had a NASCAR Cup Series event go outside of the US since the 1950s, I believe. What's your kind of thoughts on that? Because last time we spoke, we were saying how we need to get more street tracks in NASCAR
Yeah.
because we need that variety there. The Chicago street circuit being a big success there. But now NASCAR is going international, so it's taking things to a whole new level, really.
Yeah, it is. It is a different level. I will say that. I think for the sport, it's a big moment. There's a lot of fans that are not as happy about it because there's a lot of fans in the United States that would like to see him come to Milwaukee or go back to Rockingham or run some of the other racetracks that are already in the United States. And I think those fans are. They're a little bit miffed and why we're going to Mexico. But at the same time, I think you have to look at the demographics of the United States and you have to look at the Hispanic population and the Latino population. Daniel Suarez has brought more eyes to our form of racing, to cup racing, than anybody than anybody before, even than Juan Pablo. He brought more eyes from Mexico. And as we look at the demographics in this country and you look at society, it is, they are the fastest growing group of immigrants to the United States. And I know there's a lot of negativity in the press right now from the United States, and that's a whole nother issue. And I'm not getting into politics. I'm just talking able-bodied people who pull for racing and love NASCAR racing. And there's a lot of fans right now that come out of Mexico and a lot of fans that are watching in Mexico. So that is a huge moment for our sport, huge moment to go there. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it plays out. We went to Japan a number of years ago for exhibition races. And many years ago, they raced in Canada, and there was a Mexican road race a long time ago that Bill France Sr. put on when he was first starting NASCAR. But this is going to be something special. This is going to be what we consider cup racing and taking it to the streets of Mexico. And it's going to be interesting to see how it's received. Let's be honest, we can go to every country in the world. We're never going to be Formula One. Formula One is something that's totally different. It is a totally different sport. It's a totally different way of motorsports. And it's a fantastic form to watch, man. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and watch it. So I know I'm a fan. So I'm going to say that. But NASCAR is just a bunch of stock cars running around in circles, and it's going to be interesting to see us in Mexico.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think a unique thing for people who are not familiar with the track is going to be the fans. Like you say, the fans are incredible there. They've always see the fans out in absolute force at the Mexican Grand Prix for Formula One. And as well, something that, oh, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong on here, but I don't think there's another circuit on the NASCAR calendar that has the altitude of Mexico, and that is really going to affect the cars. I think in Formula One you see something like, I don't know what the power basically goes down, or at least it did when we had normally aspirated engines anyway.
Yes.
Obviously, NASCAR cars are going to be really affected by it. So you're going to have the draft being more powerful. You're going to have the downforce being a lot less. The engines are going to be behaving different. It's going to be a real challenge for the drivers.
Yeah, listen, it's already been a challenge for the engineers. And that has been a hot topic of conversation is the altitude. With thinner air, the cooling is harder for these heavy cars and these heavy engines. The cooling for the brakes, the cooling for the radiators, everything. The horsepower and air ratio as they burn. When you mix that, it leans the engine out. There's so many different things, so many different programs that these guys have been working on. And NASCAR has said, if we get down there and have some issues, we will make a change on the spot to make this race come off the way it should come off. So don't be surprised if they get down there and they start changing some stuff around from radiators and air induction and some of that stuff. But the fascinating part that you mentioned that NASCAR I don't believe they're going to touch is the downforce issue. When you get to that place we scream about downforce, all drivers scream about downforce all the time. If there's a turn and you've got to make a corner, downforce, give me downforce. So it's going to be interesting to see what Goodyear brings as a tire, and it's going to be see if that compensates a little bit for the loss of downforce that we pick it up on the other side of the car, on the grip side of the car, to see how that goes. So this is an experiment. So I'm looking forward to it. But I know the second, third, fourth race we run down there are going to be better and better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. The teams are going to get used to it. I mean, is there anywhere in particular you want to see NASCAR go to when we talk about international races? Like, for me, the one that immediately jumps to mind just because of the proximity of it would be somewhere like Montreal, like the Circuit Gilles
Yeah.
Villeneuve, where they race F1 round. But is there anywhere in particular that you look at and you think, oh, I'd love to see NASCAR race round there?
So yeah, obviously, being where we are, and where NASCAR is located, in the lower 48 states, then yes, obviously, if we're opening up Mexico, then I think we should take a look at Canada. I would like to see that look. There's so many race fans. If you go to Michigan, if you go to Watkins Glen, and you're right along the Canadian border, there's so many Canadian fans that come over. Ron Fellows was a great, great sports car driver, 24 hour of Daytona winner, ran at Le Mans, but came and run the trucks and won in those things. So there's been some great Canadian drivers that have come down. Trevor Boyce, many, many years ago, came down. But there's Earl Ross was the rookie of the year. He was the only foreign rookie of the year that we ever had. Someone other than the United States forever and ever. So I look at that and I say, yeah, those are no-brainers to me. I would love to see us land somewhere in Europe at least once because I've been going to Goodwood, going places like that. There's so many NASCAR fans, so many stock car fans. And it's just a totally different form of racing, as I said, than Formula One or the sports cars or Le Mans and that type of racing. It's just a totally different form. And it's not better, it's not worse, it's just different. That's just the way it is. And I think it would be interesting to see the type of crowd that we could draw over there on an oval or on a road course because we have opened ourselves up with this car to being a little bit more of a road course type series. I know it's never going to go to full road courses, but there'll be a lot more of them that add on.
Yeah, for sure. And as we saw in Le Mans a few years ago, these cars can run around like actual World Endurance Championship circuits. So there's no reason why we can't say, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see NASCAR in Europe. I think that'd be awesome, but we'll have to see how everything goes with that. And you mentioned Goodwood as well. That brings me very nicely onto Goodwood because when we spoke last time, you were very much excited. You and your father, the King, Richard Petty, coming over to Goodwood to go and drive some cars. And you said you were so excited about driving your favorite car, one of your dad's favorite cars from back in the day. How was that experience experience for you? Because it looked like you had an absolutely incredible time.
It was incredible. It was incredible, and it was it's one of the top 10 highlights of my life, honestly. And I say that, and that's not a small thing, believe me, because I've been very blessed to do a lot of stuff and be a part of a lot of stuff. But to be able to drive that Superbird over there, and then to go up the track beside with my dad and the Beast of Turin, riding in that car, and we went up side by side until we got to the top and had to fall in line. So cool, so cool. And I've watched Goodwood, everything that they've posted for the last year when they started posting videos again this year. Man, I watch and like everything. Like. I love everything that comes out of Goodwood. So I hope to get back in a few years. You don't want to go every year, man, because it's like you wear out your welcome. But I don't want to go too much. But man, I'm coming back at some point in time because it honestly, everything, the way they do things, everything over there was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really special event. I'd love to be able to go at some point. I don't think you could ever wear out your welcome, Carl. Come on, you're selling yourself very much short there with that one. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. You want to keep it more special. Do it every couple of years or so. So I understand that. But yeah, I want to. And this is a bit of a random one, but obviously we had the Indy 500 not too long ago. We also had the Coke 600 on the same day. Kyle Larson again attempting to do both of them on the same day. It didn't go to plan, it's fair to say. And now he's come out and basically said he's not going to attempt to do both of them in the same day. Now, I just wanted to ask a few questions really about that because
Yeah.
We've got the Coke 600, which is a unique event in NASCAR. It's 600 miles. It's the longest by 100 miles. I mean, did you ever consider doing something like that, doing like Indy 500 and then Coke 600 in the same day? Because it's a huge logistical effort.
Yeah.
And Tony Stewart Smoke, I believe, is the only guy to ever do it successfully and do all of the laps in
Yeah.
that. I mean, just put into perspective how tough that would even be. I mean, even just doing the Coke 600, a 600-mile race in itself, I imagine, is very taxing.
Yeah, it is. It is. And John Andretti is credited with being the first guy to do it. Really, if we go back to the late 60s, maybe early 70s, Donnie Allison did it. Donnie Allison, but the races were run on separate days.
Hmm.
They would run the Indy 500 on Sunday, and Memorial Day, which was Monday, is when they would run the 600. So Donnie Allison did it and had great success. Great success. I think he held the record for the highest finish of on the 2 days until Tony came along. But it is. I can't imagine it because it is when you look at it, it is 1,100 miles with the greatest drivers in both series. In both series, you're not just out there just messing around. You're not just out there playing. This is for all the marbles. This is for everything. This is the prestige of the Indy 500, the prestige of one of the crown jewels of NASCAR racing, the Coca-Cola 600, the only 600-mile race that's run in this country that's not considered an endurance race. That's the crazy thing about it. And they don't use multiple drivers. It's a single driver. So I think when you look at it, it is a huge undertaking and a huge thing. It's not something that could have really even been dreamed of back in the 70s or early 80s, but with helicopters and jets and everything that we do now and the way they schedule things and move things around, it makes it a little bit easier, but it's a logistical nightmare. And I think I'm not ruling Kyle Larson out for coming back and doing it again. I think the disappointment and the emotion of having two races back to back that were terrible races, really terrible races when you look at the caliber of driver that he is. I think you look at that and it's just I think that might have been emotion speaking. I think the opportunity if it comes up again because we feel in Cup racing that he is a guy like Kurt Busch, like a Kyle Busch, who just has so much talent that they can get in anything, anytime, and drive, and compete. I'm not saying they can win, but they can compete. And he represents NASCAR well by going there. So I hope he goes back and does it again. And listen, I hope there's other guys that pop up somewhere down the road, maybe a Christopher Bell. Some of these guys that pop up that have been in open wheel cars that are willing to go back and try it again. Because I think it can. I'm not saying that you can beat Tony Stewart because I think he's one of the greatest race car drivers that ever lived. But by God, I think a lot of people would like to have a shot at it.
For sure, yeah, no, it's a very unique thing to say that you've done that, and yeah, I think you're right. I think emotion. I mean, after crashing out of both of them, he would have been not very happy about that, of course. But like you said, for a driver of his standards as well, for that to happen, yeah, it's so difficult though. I mean, just driving that distance in one day, that is incredibly tiring. But doing it at the speeds they do, for as long as they do, against the best
Yeah.
in IndyCar and the best in NASCAR, immense amount of talent to even
Yeah. It's
attempt that.
crazy. Crazy.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, we've had a fair amount of controversy towards the end of last season. Obviously, a lot of people calling for the playoff system in NASCAR to change because, fair to say, not everybody was happy that Joey Logano won it because a lot of people were pointing out that I think if you averaged out his finishes, he was something like he would have been 15th, 13th in the
Yeah.
point, something like that. But he did what the playoffs are designed to do. He won at the right time. He made the most of, what he had there. But what do you think about the playoffs? Because it's changed a lot. I remember the days of the chase. I was
Yeah.
watching in the days of the chase and I really liked that. Basically 10 races at the end of the season. Whoever's the best in those 10 races wins the championship, more or less. But
Yeah.
nowadays, obviously, you've got the four different stages. You've got the final 16, the final 12, the fast 8, and then the fast 4 at the end. What do you think about it? Do you think it needs to change or should it even change?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it becomes, in a strange way, it becomes a philosophical question. What does NASCAR want? What is their philosophy of racing? If we look at other forms of racing, the philosophy is put together a year. Give me a whole year of your best. And let's take that and let's take your finishes and let's take your points. And whoever, when we get to the end, the guy who's won the most, the guy who's run up front the most, the guy who's done the most is your champion. And it's not that way in NASCAR. It's not that way. The guy who wins the most races may not even make it to the round of 8. The guy who wins the most races may get kicked out in the first round. That's just the way it is. And that's the way it can be. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of that because I think if you go back and look at it, I'm not sure under that format if Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt or Jimmy Johnson or Jeff Gordon would have the amount of championships that they have. Because cup racing, especially having 36 races a year, is a year of streaks. A team will get on a streak, just like we saw Christopher Bell win 3 in a row. And then he's run good since then, but he's not really challenged for a lot of wins since then. We see a Larson knock off one every 3 or 4 races or 4 or 5 races. He's a little bit hotter. Denny Hamlin's been hot the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's run and led for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But by the time we get to the last 10 races of the season, they may be cold as ice. And then you have somebody like Joey Logano who gets hot in a 10 race stretch and wins the championship. And I understand what fans say. But what I would say back to fans from not appreciating what Joey Logano is hey, everybody knew the game when they went in February and started the year. Everybody knew what the rules were. Everybody knew how it was going to be played. They just got outplayed. They just got beat by Penske and got beat by Joey Logano. Sorry. So that's sour grapes a little bit when you say that. But I think there could be tweaks to it. And there's always been tweaks. My dad won 7 championships under 5 different point systems, I think, 5 or 6 different point systems. So they've constantly changed the point system. They've constantly changed the way they've done things. Just in recent years, as we went to the playoffs and the elimination rounds, it's become a little bit more controversial. And why that is, I don't know. And I have no clue. It's more like in our country, it's more like the NCAA tournament in basketball, where you can take a 16th seed who ends up making it to the round of 4 and the final. Would they be able to beat that team head to head during the course of the year? Probably not. But they get on a streak and they get hot and they can beat anybody. And that's kind of the way it is. So, yeah, I would like, having Larson, the glaring examples last year was Larson winning so many races and not being in the final 4, and Joey not winning many races and winning the championship. So the juxtaposition of those 2 events during the course of the 2024 season really made it stick out to a lot of people who are not even race fans. So I would probably like to see it tweaked in some way. I don't like the one race, one shot take all. I would rather see those 4 guys run 3 races in a row, and whoever scored the most points in those last 3 races, yeah, maybe they're the champion. I could live with that a little bit better than a one shot race.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think having it as the chase like it used to be, I think that was potentially a better system because then at least it's a larger sample size. You've
Yeah.
got 10 races. But NASCAR, from the commercial side of things, will want to ensure that there's always a championship
Yeah.
decider at the final race, and that is what they've done. So that will
Yeah.
always happen now.
Yeah, and that's where it's tough in this day and time. And listen, everybody does it. And whether you're drag racing, whether you're Formula One with their TV series on Netflix, it's we are in a sports business that happens to be the entertainment business too. You know what I mean? The competitors all look at it as sport. Every competitor. If you walk into a race shop and you talk to a driver and you talk to a team owner, it's all about winning. It's about winning races. That's all I really give a rat's rear end about. Just win races, win races, win races. But then when you get to the sponsors and you get to NASCAR, it's like, well, how many people saw you win races?
Mm.
What was special about it? How can we make it bigger? How can we make it better? So that's where the entertainment and the sport kind of collide somewhere. And sometimes entertainment wins and sometimes sport wins. The trick is to keep that balance and to keep it balanced on that fine edge, and be the most that you can for both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've heard a few people say as well that, well, basically, if you're very good at Phoenix, you've got a very good chance of winning the championship because that's always the decider. But that's
Yeah.
changing next year. We're going back to Homestead for the final race of the season next year. And I think this is a good move, to be honest, because it's at least getting a bit of variety in there. At least it's not saying, well, you only won your championships because
Yeah.
you were very good around Phoenix. Like, if we had
Yeah.
that format, I think it was Kevin Harvick who used to win there. If we had that format when Kevin Harvick was in his prime, might have won 5 championships because he always won there. But
Yeah.
we're going to Homestead, we're going to Miami next year for the final race, which is good. So I think that's a very positive move by NASCAR. And I'm guessing you probably saw the trailer as well that they used to announce that, which I'm not going to lie, I love that. I unashamedly love that trailer.
No, it was great. Listen, and going back to Homestead, I thought Homestead was a great racetrack for the championship because it's a difficult little place. At the same time, Phoenix is a difficult little racetrack, and you either hit on it or you don't. And we talk about going to Homestead. You talk about Larson, you talk about Christopher Bell, you talk about Tyler Reddick, the guys who run up next to the boards and can just run there lap after lap after lap and never make a mistake. So it favors that. There's not many racetracks that don't favor someone.
Mm,
And that's the trick with having a last race and that boiling down to that finale. Because if you get a guy who that's his favorite racetrack or that's where he has an incredible history, then he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy that everybody's going to have to shoot at. And I don't think NASCAR anticipated that in the beginning. I think they thought it was going to be equal for everyone, but it's never going to be equal for everyone. I would really like to see them add probably another couple of tracks, maybe two or three to the mix of Phoenix and Homestead, and then maybe a Charlotte, and maybe in Atlanta, or maybe somewhere, and just rotate it every year. Just keep a rotation going. So every year it was at a different racetrack somewhere. I don't think a short track can play into that type of scenario. I don't think a road course can play into that type of scenario. And I don't think the Daytonas and the Talladegas, the big racetracks, should play into that. But I think the intermediate tracks, which are the heart and soul of what racing is, they should play into that.
yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I'm laughing because I did joke about that at the time. Like, can you imagine a championship decider at Talladega or Daytona? That'd be chaos. But yeah, you're right. It's not fair. It's nowhere near like fair to have that as a championship decider, as much as I would
Yeah.
like to see it from a Puritan point of view.
Yes. It would listen, it would be wild. It would be
It would
wild.
be.
I think the guys that were running for the championship would all get together and ride a half a lap behind all day long, waiting for something to happen. And then in the last 10 or 15 laps, it would just be a shootout, and that would be it.
That very much does kind of remind me a little bit of the Cars finale at the end of the Cars film. We always talk about the Cars film; it always comes up at some point. Love them films, but yeah, a 3 car shootout, a 4 car shootout to decide it. Just have them 4 cars and nobody else, then it's totally fair.
That's it. That's it.
Oh God, yeah. No, it's been it feels like about 5 minutes we've been chatting, but it's been over half an hour. But yeah, I really appreciate your time, Kyle. It's been fantastic chatting with you again, and yeah, I hope to join you one day on that charity ride. If it's 30th anniversary next year, that'd be something awesome to do. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, listen, man, it's an open invitation. All you got to do is get in touch with us, and we'll find you a bike. We'll find you everything you need, man. Jackets,
Oh,
hats, helmets. We got it all, dude. It doesn't make any difference. Come ride.
that means a lot to me. I'll start doing motorcycle lessons now you've said that. So yeah.
That's good.
Oh no, thank you so much, Kyle. Really appreciate your time, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the show. And yeah, let us know who you want to get on next for a conversation about NASCAR or anything else we want to talk about. Appreciate it as always. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always if you want to see more like this. And yeah, have a great day wherever you're on the world today.